Hello students, welcome to my channel. Today we are again starting the another new chapters, very exciting chapters, which is a part of the this chapter 7. And chapter 7 we have already learned about the different reformers that came, and then they removed the different varieties of evils in the from the society, and then they have actually contributed a lot for the our Indian society especially. And then also we also should be very grateful on the European people who also have joined our Indian reformers, and then they worked hand in hand and to made our society very beautiful society. And yet today we can find that there are still in some areas people are still following up the old systems that was actually existed in before the arrival of the Britishers. So however, today in this title, especially women and the reforms, we will be talking about different things in the class, and here we will find some of the important objectives that we have got. See, first of all, let us know about the points which is very important for this chapter. So Indian society in the 19th century, we will be discussing about it. And then a second one is a status of women in a British India. And then third one is a role of 19th century reformers. And the fourth one is a women reformers of the 19th century. So before we launching ourselves, let us know that how the status and position that we have got, especially the women section in this country. So that is very important. Let us know that in our parliament, how much percentage actually we have got as a position of the women in India. So let us know that maybe the 12% of this what called the women has the a kind of like a space or the position in the parliament today in this country India. 12% of the women out of 100%. Then nearly 25% to 40% of the women in fact have taken part in the Panchayat Raj, Panchayati form of like this local government. There we can find, and you can see that the rank of this women participation in our country is 149. 149 is the rank that we have got in our country, and so we can find it how much or what is the percentage of the women education in India we can see, and how they are actually dropping out. Most of the time we can find that society, especially the women or the girl child, are very rarely given the education, and very rarely people have understood about the importance of education. So those are the parents who are very much educated are able to send their girl child even to the school and colleges, and for the they are allowing their girl child to be doctor, they are allowing their child to be scientist and astronauts or air hostess or pilots, many other areas, so that we can see. So nearly 48% of the this girl child in fact dropped out from the school when they just when they reach up to the class 5, 6, 7 and all, and then they are actually dropping out their schooling, and as a result of that more girl child is found in the society not much educated at present. Okay, this is the like percentage a bit different. So then see that is we find in India 48% of the girl child or the women were actually dropped out, and then they were not given due care. 92% of these women were found in Nepal. In fact, they were out of 100%, 92% of the women were actually not given the importance much education, and as a result of a big number of women were actually uneducated. Then in Bangladesh we can find that 54% of the girl child is dropped out, and they were not given the due care. Then 74% of the this the girl child is dropped out in Pakistan. It means the number of the what called the percentage of the girl child dropping out of the schooling and all is big in Nepal and in Pakistan. So however, this is the percentage we can see, and this is not made it may not be the like a accurate one, but there will be a up and down of the percentage also. So however, let us also talk about the workplace that we find in India. Now see, in 1990 we can find that the workplace of the position of the women, we find that nearly 35% of the women or ladies were actually appointed and given the chances there. Then in 2017 we find that that has been reduced up to 17%. It may say quite a number has been actually reduced. So and then again women, women especially in parliament that we have got, that is actually rank holding second rank they are holding, that women were actually getting the chances in the parliament, especially we can see that in the big post like Pratibha Patel, president of India, then Lok Sabha speaker also we can see that a woman, then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi was also seen. So it may say in India there is a chance of becoming the Prime Minister, Chief Minister of the country like our India. Then again we can find that here maternal leave of this especially like ladies whom when they are actually conceiving the child. So the time the government has given them ample of opportunities and they are getting the opportunities. It's a good that government has given the good scheme on them to take care of the babies at that time. But it is sometimes we can call that it is in the black and white letter, and perhaps this may not be the sometime accurate, like especially in the unorganized sector you can find that these are the things are actually not much like seen whether the women are gaining the profit from the government or not during this maternal leave and all. So especially housewife also or maybe the workers especially working in the in the building construction and so many other areas where the women were actually not considered as a maternal leave and all, and the money was not given to them. Then organized, even in the organized sector, okay, in the organized sector especially suppose you are working in the government sector, also the people are very skeptic. So whether they will be giving you the this maternal leave or not, that is also they will be thinking about. And suppose you are on the leave, then they will be always some way or the other they will be pushing some sort of like a responsibility on you. So that is also we can see it means very skeptical in this country. Then in this country the abortion is considered as like a illegal, but the thing is that abortion is more done in this country privately or government sector also. Sometimes there is a things are happening, so but mostly in the private sector the abortion is small. Whereas the other part of the world, there are some of the countries who actually they consider this is actually illegal, and they how so far they have avoided about this abortion of the women, especially when they are conceiving the baby. Then we can find in India female infanticide also more. It may say if the girl child is about to born, then or maybe the born, then the girl child is not actually considered as like the family members, or they consider as like it is a burden, and that's why you can find that nearly the female ratio in our country is a 943, okay, 943, and then men is a 1000, okay, when we look at the ratio. And at least in a 1 hour in our country, females were actually tortured and exploited and also harassed and raped. So many things are actually happening. Like we can find it in 1 hour you can see that 4 rapes case maybe already will be taking place in our country, and maybe the 93 rapes will be there in a day sometimes. It means if in 1 hour suppose 4 rape cases taken place, it means in 1 hour sorry, in 1 day maybe 93 to 94 rape cases will be taking place in our country. And mostly we can see that in the country, sexual harassment and so many other exploitative methods are used to lower down the women in the country. So this is how far the government is putting important on these areas, and how the government has taken the precaution to avoid such kind of like the things taking place in the different states and working places. So it actually part of the like discussion. So anyway, this is the data we can think of. So since we have got already in our country like from before the 19th century, perhaps the social evils were actually existed more vividly, more clearly. And here in the 19th century was actually a period of a great actually transformation because of the arrival of the Britishers. And the British, of course, are actually quite a different society altogether. They are not very slow and like allowing the things to happen, but rather they will be always raising the voice, always trying to bring the new laws and change the laws, change the situation. So that is we can find in the Britishers. So therefore, the introduction of Western education actually brought a new change and a kind of like a new stream of consciousness in the mind of the people, and also the educated Indians were actually realized that some of the like evils that is existing in a country should be avoided, should be eradicated. So that is actually they tried. So therefore, you can find that the exposure to a new set of values and beliefs that is inspired by humanism and rationalism promoted them to identify the social inequalities persistent in their surroundings. So that is we can find and a fight against them. Now, most of these reforms had some common goals, such as like a spirit of like a education, women emancipation, then eradication of the caste system. These are the very much common became for most of the reformers, and that's why they worked together. And every state, for example, one way or the other, the reformers actually took the initiative, and people supported, especially educated people supported, and then with the help of the Britishers, they were successful on that. So here, condition of women in the 19th century in India was actually very much like a different what is today we can see. Now see, females were actually not given the preference. So that is we have seen even in the movie, in the workplace. So suppose you have studied the same subject, and you go for the job, and suppose you were appointed in the government sector or in a private sector. Suppose you were given the job, then the male, especially dominant part, are given the more like a salary. But the same job, suppose a woman is given, then the women were not given the much salary. So that is we can see the difference. It may say females were actually very little preferences given to them, and then they were neither sent to the school nor could they claim any rights over the property. Instead, they were actually considered a burden which had to be taken care of, and then married off at the earliest opportunity. And because of this, the system they kept. Therefore, many of the husbands were dying in early age, and then some of the old people were marrying to the young girl. Maybe 10-year girl is married by the 60 years, 70 years of the aged man. And so when they die, then this girl is remaining as a widow in the society. And when a widow is in the society, then you find that she has to undergo a lot of suffering, a lot of pain, because in some places they were not allowing her to enter even temples, even in the festivals, and drawing up wells, water and all, sometimes not allowing. So such kind of rigidity that we find in the society, which actually a kind of like hindrance for the development. And this was actually noticed by the Britishers and also many of the reformers of India. That's why they tried their level best to eradicate in society from the societies. These are the few evils that was actually existed. Now we can understand about this. Another things that in India, another things that this polygamy systems were also existed. It means polygamy. We can see that one husband may having the more than one wife. So when you have the polygamy, it means more wife. Suppose married and kept. It means in the family you won't see any peace and serenity in the family. Always there should be there must be a kind of like a fight, and always there will be a avoiding then torture, and also food problem, clothing problem. These are the things will be occurring in the family. And we can also find that in the society a big that is evil was that sati was also practiced in some society. And sati, what is the meaning of sati? Sati means you have to understand that a big like a murdering, kind of like forcefully murdering someone. like especially when the husband is dying, then in the husband's death pyre, you know, the woman has to be emulate, and then she has to sit on the this pyre, burning fire. It means they have already given the reference that if anyone does that, then they will reach to the heaven, they will reach to the nirvana. Such kind of like a false belief was shown to different women's, and you know, they were compelling to do that. And if the women are not agreed, then by force also sometimes they were throwing in the burning fire. Okay, so these are the things that are happening. So that's why these are the actually part of the social evils that were actually existed in India. So therefore, everyone should actually think of how we can actually improve ourselves, how we can give the opportunity the women in the society better position in the society. So that is actually the reformers started thinking from their perspectives. Then you can find that the working towards the change here you have already started. So the beginning of the 19th century, you know, saw the emergence of a culture of public debate and discussion. It means many of the reformers, in fact, they started searching from the religious texts whether this sati pratha or child marriage are still existing in the religious books. Ultimately, they found that these things are not found in the religious books. So they brought the new statement, and they said that in the religious book such kind of statements are not found. So it means from the beginning these are the false statement actually given to the people, and then the people were actually following of that blindly. It means in India mostly we can find it there was a blind belief, and a blind false beliefs were actually followed very strongly, and that has become like in the society a kind of like a very strong impact, a strong influence on each person. And suppose you want to bring the reform, then it's certainly very difficult to convince the people. So here we can find that Rajaram Mohan Roy, a person who came out, and then Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar who came out, and then Sir Said Ahmed Khan also came out for the all this reformation. And yet they got the many of the like criticism from their own society, and yet they came out, they avoided such kind of people, and then they perform their best, and then today we can see them that they are in the history how they have actually brought the reformation. So therefore through the public debates and discussions things have been actually became clearer, and people started understanding about this information knowledge, and people gradually actually became the rationalized themselves. It means from the different part of the world, you know, many other events have been taken place, many other incident has been taken place, and all these events actually made the people to be more aware about the world. Therefore this English, the Western education with the technology and machinery based education actually made the people more and more clear about their life, and so people started coming into light, and so it is a kind of like a revival, a kind of like a light came to them, a kind of like a enlightened the people. Okay, so that happened. So therefore through newspapers, magazines, pamphlets, and books, people were actually able to participate in the various debates on social political issues in our country. And then most of the participants were actually member of the educated urban middle class, and it was this section of the society that provided leadership to the Indian nationalist movement, and many of them felt that social change was actually necessary for bringing about a political change. So social change means what? Political change will be there, and thus directed their attention and energy to understand large scale social reforms. Okay? So these are the few things they have actually done. So anyway, students, you can find that the debates and actually debates that dominated the public sphere in the 19th century, and in India often actually initiated by the leading reformers like Rajaram Mohan Roy, one of the earliest reformers who actually fought against the social causes, and also he actually deliberately he actually integrated to Western education, and then made people to be more aware about it. Then he believed that the best way to bring change was to pursue people pursue people to give up old practices and adopt a new way of life. That is the Raja Ram Mohan Roy actually adopted. Then inspired by the ideals of the French Revolution, even he supported the spirit of Western education, and he believed that contact with Western ideas and philosophy would bring equality and freedom in the Indian society. So that was actually he tried his level best. So in the next class, I will talk about the abolition of sati. Okay. So thank you, and have a great